Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Sandeman Street podcast, a podcast about Dundee and Dundee United, and for today and for the next foreseeable future, Scotland, from fans of both clubs and of course the national team. I'm Andrew, and as always I'm joined by Jack, my regular co-host. Jack, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. No been together for a few weeks. How have you been?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Started a wee health kick, so I'm
Well,
on that journey.
well, let's hope it's not the beginning of the year, so it's not like a cliche January's one, is it? But best of luck to you anyway, mate, because I know how difficult that is. As it's our first World Cup episode and our World Cup build-up episode, we've got Martin in again, so I would say you're a bit of a guest, but you're now becoming a bit of a regular, Martin.
Yeah, showing face a bit more often. Just got a bit of World Cup fever just now. Really excited for the next few weeks.
Well, let's hope that Scotland are going to shit the bed like they usually do.
That's the hope that kills, is it?
And we've got a new face to the podcast this week. One of my very good pals, John. John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, Andy. Thanks very much for having me on.
Good, mate, good. Well, we're glad to have you. Just before we start, just a quick message for our social medias, as we usually do. Our Twitter is at SandemanSTPod. That is at SandemanSTPod. On Instagram, we are at the Sandeman Street Pod. And on YouTube, we are at the Sandeman Street Podcast. So, podcast on YouTube, at Sandeman Street Pod on Instagram. We'll get cracking. Just before we start all the Scotland stuff, we've got a couple of things that we want to touch on for the club side of things. So we'll start off with signings and rumours. Jack, I'll bring you in here because you're usually the man for all that sort of stuff. It's been quite slow on Paradise, or Sandeman Street should we say, in terms of both clubs making signings. Obviously United done a lot of business as the season was kind of coming to a conclusion. Since the season's finished, since we've last recorded, not so much, but there has been a couple of departures, I think.
Well, Dave Richards has left. He rejected a deal at the club, and I believe, well, the rumour is he's going to be signing for Aberdeen, so he's going to get a bigger pay packet there, I believe, and I'd imagine. So, all the best to him. He done decent for us when he was called upon, and I would have preferred to have kept him, but things happen. As for incomings, Jack Walton returned on a 3-year deal, leaving Preston North End after 2 previous loans at the club, one of which led us to Europe. So I think it's a very solid signing, good show of intent, and very much welcome because goalkeeper this season has been atrocious. Our next signing, well, only other signing so far has been Dylan Tate, who's joined the club from Falkirk on a 3-year deal after a good spell there. So good another person in the middle of the pitch to have. It provides competition there, and hopefully Jim Goodwin sees that and thinks we can change formation. As for boys we were linked with a 21-year-old centre mid called Andrew Babic. He was playing at Vardar alongside Babunski, ex-United player for those who didn't know. And that one has been pretty much shut down. I think the Vardar are asking for a bit too much, and United aren't willing to pay it. So as for the foreseeable, that one's not going to happen. But yeah, that's all the business so far.
A guy like Dylan Tate, I mean, I remember the season Dundee won the league, which was 2022-23, not that long ago, and Dylan Tate was playing on loan at Arbroath and wasn't even standing out there. And obviously he's since went to Falkirk and he's turned his career around, so all credit to him for that. But it's certainly a different signing. Obviously, Sybil's went in the opposite direction. As a United supporter, you'd probably think that you probably got the better end of the deal there because Tate's a lot younger than Sybil. Interesting that you mentioned that you think that Jim Goodwin might change his formation, because he doesn't seem to be the type of player that Jim Goodwin would regularly sign, does he?
No, I think people were saying that the reason he never changed formation last season when everyone was calling for him to do so was that he wouldn't be able to use Will Ferry, and he's arguably our best player, and playing at 4 at the back, it kind of limits Ferry ability and his main threat, which is attacking, so that's why he's stuck with 3 at the back. But hopefully now that we've got essentially 5-6 centre midfielders, that we're able to play 3 in the middle and change formation and be a bit more strong in the middle of the park.
As for Dundee, I've got the retained list here now. I'll not go through all the players who are still under contract because there's quite a few of them. The only ones I wanted to touch on were Aaron Donnelly and Paul Digby. Now, I think regular listeners to the podcast and those who know me know that I do like Aaron Donnelly, and I'm quite not upset or a wee bit gutted that he's not had the chance under Presley whatsoever. And he's been told he could leave, as is Paul Digby. So I think Presley's helping them, or the club are helping them facilitate moves out. And obviously it'll be good, especially for Aaron Donnelly, to get away, a young man who has been in the Northern Ireland first team squad, and you want to kick on in his career. Paul Digby's obviously a bit older, a lot more experienced, and at the age he's at, you'll be wanting to play regular football as well. So the two of them have been told they could leave. The loan players who are leaving are Ugan, Congreve, Danda, Cotterill, Wright and Valenzuela. Another success story on loan from Monterey. Less said about that the better. Jan Danda's back to Hearts. Rumours that Dundee are interested in him on a permanent deal. They're hopefully working towards that. I'd like to see him back. And there's also rumours that he could be on his way to Falkirk. They've just sold Calvin Miller to Hearts, so obviously Danda's at Hearts, and there's rumours that Danda could be heading in the opposite direction, but I would like to hope that Dundee, having already had him, he knows the place and stuff, would make more favourable for us. Players who have left are John McCracken, Lewis Montsma, Ethan Ingram and Trevor Carson. Clark Robertson is currently in transfer talks with what is reported to be a pay-as-you-play style deal, but he's also got rumours of interest in, I believe, in the Middle East and in India. Nothing about that. Finlay Robertson has signed a new two-year contract, finished the season relatively strongly, and Charlie Riley has signed a new one-year deal as well. So all in all, that is really it in terms of rumours. I've heard one other rumour. I'm going to butcher this name, Jack, so you might be able to help me here. The boy that plays for Dunfermline, he plays for the Scotland under-21s, is it Chukola Mullen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a rumour that I've heard as well. Now, it's only a rumour. So,
good player, by the way.
Well, I've only seen Dunfermline once this season, and it was the Scottish Cup semi-final against Falkirk, and I was very impressed with him. I thought he was big and strong and powerful. Definitely could go up a few levels, and obviously he's in the Scotland under-21 squad, so definitely one that's interesting, but I would imagine that you'll probably Dunfermline might want a bit of money for him unless he's out of a contract, and whether or not Dundee can afford to buy him out of a contract, I'm not sure. Martin, what's your thoughts on your new signings so far since we've last spoke?
Yeah, Jack Walton was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect that to sort of come up. That was right out of the blue, but happy with that one. Good solid keeper. Yeah, we've needed that. Like Jack touched on earlier on, goalkeeping was a bit of an issue last season at Tardis, so it'll be reassuring to have some continuity and some quality between the sticks, which is something that's been massively missed. So yeah, welcome back, Jack Walton. As for Dylan Tate, I've not really seen anything of Falkirk apart from about 45 minutes on the telly when we played them in the Cup, so I can't really give you that much of an analysis of what his play style and that is, but I've heard good things about him, and I was speaking to a Falkirk fan a couple of days ago who was quite saddened at the loss of him, says that he was a good player, really like watching them play, so yeah, good signing for us, and it'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the team.
Good man. Now, general club news, we've obviously both not qualified for Europe this season, given that we were both in the bottom six and bottom six shite this season. So we have both been drawn in the League Cup group stage. Now, I know that that's certainly not my favourite thing in the world. I could imagine that you two will feel fairly similar. Do one of you know who United drew? Because I've totally forgotten.
Yeah, so we've actually got a big Angus derby in our group. Montrose and Arbroath, they're in there with us, along with the Spartans and Stirling Albion. So it's one of these groups that you look at and think you'll absolutely piss it, but we'll end up getting about 1 point, as we seem to do every time we play in this cursed League Cup group stage. But surely we should be picking enough points up in there to get through. But as Jack will be able to back me up on, I don't know if you feel the same, Andy, watching Dundee in it, but this League Cup group stage is far, it's not as easy as what it looks. It's so difficult to get out of because all it takes is one bad result and you really are on the back foot.
The thing is, I know that the managers and the players like it because it's competitive games to get them into the swing of things for the league season starting. So on that side of things, you can understand why they like it. But what I like about it is, and I did say this at the beginning of last season, is when you get away games for teams that you've never been to. Now we've got Clyde, Ross County, Annan, and who's the other team that we've got? Airdrie. Now we draw Airdrie in the League Cup every single season, so they're no new team. We've got Clyde at home as well, and we've got Annan and Ross County away. Now everybody would be thinking, we've never been to Annan, so that would be good to go down. And Ross County is obviously a lot of people's favourite away games, but they're both on Tuesdays.
That's a nightmare. You're hoping for a night in the Mallard, do you, when you get Ross County, but you'll not be in there on a Tuesday night.
The thing is, I was thinking about still going down to Annan on the Tuesday, but I just can't be bothered, and I would probably have to take a wee bit of time off work, and I could offer a League Cup game. See, if it was a Scottish Cup game at the beginning of the year, I would definitely go, but no on a Tuesday for the League Cup group stages.
Players and managers may like the games, they're competitive, they've got a bit of an extra edge to them, but I think for fans they're just pre-season friendlies really, and it's kind of a shame. It's taken something away from the League Cup in my opinion. I think a lot of people share the same opinion as me on that one. Certainly at Tannadice, if you look at the attendances for these games, you're getting 3,000 sometimes. It's just, they're not very appealing to fans.
No. And Skinner, just before we round up our stuff on Dundee United before we head into the juicy stuff, has there been any friendlies, pre-season trips, anything announced for United at all?
I believe there were some mentions of, I think, Brecon. We've got another pre-season game with Brecon, I believe. Apart from that, I've not really heard much. I don't know if Martin knows anything different, but as far as I'm aware, I believe that is the only pre-season that, well, anyway, I'm aware of.
I haven't seen anything myself.
So Dundee have announced 2 friendlies so far, and one of the things that Presley was very, very unhappy about last season was that we only went into the League Cup section with 2 friendlies, where we are both in Brecon, and we started off the League Cup section with 2 defeats to Airdrie and Alloa, so he's wanting at least 5, I think. So the first 2 have been announced away to Livingston on the 27th of June. But the 27th of June is actually the day that I get back from America, and my pal who I'm going away with is saying to me, he texts me saying, you fancy Livingston on the 27th with and he was joking, and I was like, yeah, I didn't think that's going to happen. Going to Livingston for a friendly after travelling for something like 16 hours, I don't think there's much chance of that. On Wednesday the 8th of July we're also playing Brecon away. I'd imagine we'll probably play a Forfar or Montrose and Arbroath as well, but Brecon, Forfar, Montrose, Arbroath, they're always good friendlies to have. They're obviously local, you get plenty of people up to them, so they're the first 2 that have been announced, but other than that, nothing to report. Now, what we'll do is we usually save this for the end of the episode, but because it's going to be club-based, we'll do it before we kick on into the World Cup stuff. Our monthly top 5 for the month of June, so I will pass over to one of the guys. Martin, would you like to go first on that one?
Yeah.
So we're going to do top 5. This is the last subject of the season, is your top 5 favourite games you've ever been to. So Dundee Stoke United, obviously, for the 2 of us, for the 3 of us, and we'll get John in as well if he has any, if he wants to do. But Martin, first you can kick us off.
So yeah, I've got my 5 games that I'll read out in chronological order, not necessarily sort of worst to best or best to worst.
Are you wanting to do it 1 to 5, so, or 5 to 1 should I say? So if you want to just give, if you're not wanting to give an order in terms of your 5 to 1, but just give me a game then.
Yeah, right, okay. So my top 5 games that I've got for United are, obviously you've got to have the Cup final in 2010. Seeing United winning silverware, it's, even at the age I was when I couldn't fully appreciate it the way I would if it was now, it's a day that to this day I say is one of the best days of my life. Getting to watch that was absolutely superb. The second one I've got on that list of top 5s is Inverness away in the Scottish Cup in 2014. I think we beat them 5-3 5-0 that day, 5-1, and it was just a total party atmosphere in that away end. I think it was a Sunday late kick off in the afternoon. Everybody was absolutely steamboats, absolutely party atmosphere at the game, and obviously we absolutely breezed them aside as well. So it was just an absolutely brilliant day out. The game was good, but I think I remember that one more for the day out as opposed to the game. But it was a great game as well. We absolutely played them off the park that day. After that game, we were on the bus heading back to Dundee, listening to the cup draw. And we actually got drawn against what will be my next game in this list. We got drawn against Rangers in the semi-final at Ibrox. This would have been the second time we played Rangers after they reformed as a new club. Started off in the lower leagues. That was unbelievable. I don't know if this will take number one spot for one of my best games, but I think there was about 12,500 United fans at Ibrox that day. Beat them 3-1, an absolute howler from their keeper Steve Simonson, and just seeing 12,500 United fans in Ibrox goading them for all the crap that they'd been through over the last few years with our club, going into liquidation, coming back, and all that kind of thing. That was just an absolutely unforgettable match. That was. I'll never forget that one. The atmosphere at that game was so tense. It was an atmosphere that I've never experienced before at a football game. You could literally feel the hatred in the air. It was a very, very strange atmosphere. But we won that game. We didn't really turn up for that, actually. We made it look really difficult, but we won it at the end of the day, and that was the main thing. And obviously, it's always a bonus when you get one up over that lot. So, aye. The next game on the list is the Dundee Derby in 2019, one of the two 6-2 games. That was an absolutely brilliant one as well. Off the pitch and on the pitch. On the pitch, the football was absolutely brilliant. I think we got 4 goals in the first half in the space of probably about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It just seemed like the goals were raining in. Just every time we got the ball, it seemed like we were scoring goals. It was absolutely brilliant. It was under the floodlights on a Friday night. It was chucking down the rain. Just everything that could have went right that night did go right, and it was a superb night, superb Friday night. And the last game on my list is the AZ Alkmaar game at home in 2022 when we beat them 1-0. That is the first time I've seen United win a European tie at Tannadice that actually meant something at the time. Obviously, we know how that tie ended. At that point in time, going into half time over that tie, 1-0 up. At full time, the place was buzzing, and you're just thinking, is this what it was like supporting United back in the good old days that you hear so much about from the older boys that go to Tannadice? It's just to have performed and turned up the way we did that night on the European stage. It was absolutely brilliant against an AZ team who were really good. They had some really good players in their team. They had the boy Pavlidis, Andy, that we've seen play at Hampden a few times for Greece recently. They had the boy, is it Bruno Mertens Indy, is that his name? Can't remember who he played for down south.
He played for Holland, didn't he?
Yeah. So they had a lot of good players in their team that night, and they just couldn't. It just didn't work for them. And
the boy Reinders that's at Man City.
I actually can't remember.
Kerkez as well. Kerkez is at Liverpool as well. I'm pretty sure played.
Yeah.
And then Jordi Classy, who played in the World Cup for.
Yeah,
Holland,
he played that night. Aye. So they had a really sort of star-studded team that night, and they just didn't turn up. Obviously, we've seen in the second leg what they were capable of when they do turn up. But that night at Tannadice, it was superb. Like I say, I can only imagine that was what it's like going to watch United in the 80s.
Okay, well done, Martin. Now, John, we'll get you in, mate. I'm conscious that you've not spoken in a while. Have you got how many games? How many have you got for us? I know that you said you were going to kind of dip in. Have you got 5?
I've managed to scrape together 4 that I was at and 2 honourable mentions that I wasn't at but could have been at, if that makes sense.
Okay, now whisper it quietly, but we'll have a non-Dundee and Dundee United fan in the podcast today. But since we're Scotland based today, all are welcome. What I'll do, John, is because Martin's went off script and given 5 all in one go when he should have only given me 1. Martin, you give me so you've got 4, you say. You give me your number. What I'll do is I'll get Jack in, and we'll do our 5, and then you can do your number 4. So, Jack, what is your number 5, mate?
My number 5, it was the last one I mentioned, was the United game versus AZ Alkmaar. Just reiterating every point Martin made about that game. It was great to see United actually winning a game in Europe with my own eyes in person. And obviously they were a very big team, very strong team, and ultimately, obviously, the over the 2 legs we were in superior. I don't know if that's the right word, but we'll go with it. But on the day, I thought it was a great experience, great game to watch, and it's a game that I'll really never forget.
Well, inferior is the word that you're looking for there.
That's the one.
For myself, number 5. Now, I went for a game that actually happened last season. It was Dundee 2, Celtic 0. Now, the only reason that I went for that is purely because, as I've said numerous times this season on the podcast, I had never seen Dundee beat Celtic, and it was the first time I'd seen them beat Celtic. They played very well in the first half. They defended well enough in the second half. It's not a vintage Celtic team by any stretch of the imagination, but just because I'd never seen it before, it had to go in my list. So number 5 for myself is that game. And now what we'll do, John, is we'll get you in, mate, for your number 4.
My number 4, mostly because I'm incredibly nostalgic about it, was seeing Henrik Larsson's final match at Parkhead. I believe it was against Dundee United. Just incredibly emotional. I remember being right beside the tunnel with my mum and my dad. I got so many signatures that I remember seeing Larsson coming back out with his wife and his son. Obviously, he was greeting. I'm pretty sure my dad was roaring and greeting into my shoulder. It was just a really good day.
You can't beat a bit of Henrik Larsson. What a player he was. Jack, number 4 for yourself, mate.
Number 4 was the semi-final neutral venue against Rangers, the 3-1 game. Great atmosphere, great day. Obviously, getting a win against the Rangers is always nice to have. So, yeah, number 4 for me. United 3, Rangers 1 semi-final.
Okie dokie. For myself, number 4 is Dundee 2, Dundee United 1, 2016, often referred to as the Dundee Derby. I don't think many Dundee fans wouldn't have had this in their top 5, but I don't think I'm going to be sad enough to put it near the top. I think I'll tuck it nicely in at number 4. If you see your team win the game that secures your rivals to cover relegation, then it's a good day all round, isn't it? So that is my number 4. John, what about your number 3, mate?
Number 3 for me is the Invincible Treble Scottish Cup final for Celtic, the 2-1 win over Aberdeen. Obviously, Tom Rogic, what an absolute gentleman of a player, one of the best players I've seen in a Celtic strip. Obviously went on and scored that goal, and just the absolute pandemonium that followed it, I'll never forget it.
Okay, that's the Wizard of Oz. What a player. Another good player for Celtic. Number 3 for yourself, Jack.
It's the 2019 6-2 derby. I was there with...
Are you copying him?
No. There's one difference.
Okay.
So yeah, the 6-2 derby 2019. I was in the shed with the missus, taking her to her first derby. She started greeting us as soon as United scored their first goal. She absolutely shat herself. Obviously beating your rival 6-2 is always a great feeling. So number 3 is the 6-2 derby 2019.
Okay, now I am going to put at number 3 a game that was, if it wasn't for the way that the game panned out, it wouldn't have went in because of the occasion it was, should I say. So it was the Challenge Cup, so the Lower League Challenge Cup final. We played Inverness at McDermott in Perth, and we're 2-0 down at half time. Come back and won 3-2. Now 3-2 is the best scoreline in football, in my opinion, if you win. And especially when you're 2-0 down and win 3-2. Or, as you're going to find out later with another one of my picks, it's 1-0 you get pegged back, 2-1 you get pegged back, and then you win 3-2. And it was against Inverness that day. They had the likes of Johnny Hayes, Richie Foran, Adam Rooney, and we won 3-2 that day. It was just actually quite close after my granddad had passed away. My granddad was a lifelong Dundee fan as well, so not a very nice time, but that was a great result in those circumstances. So yeah, that is mine. 3-2 Challenge Cup final against Inverness at McDermott Park. Number 2 for yourself, John.
Number 2 for me, there's quite a lot of games I could have picked from here. I've been very fortunate in the past few years as a Celtic supporter, but for me it's got to be the 5-1 demolition derby against Rangers in 2016. Moussa Dembele absolutely ripping Rangers to shreds. Scott Sinclair, he burst onto the scene that season with Celtic, had an absolutely wonderful season. It was actually, funnily enough, my first ever Old Firm match. My mum and dad, actually the whole family, have got a rule that you're not allowed to attend an Old Firm match until you're 18. Don't ask me why, I didn't implement it. But I still remember 2 things about that day. One was we had 4 tickets, still don't know how. We got offered thousands for those tickets on the way into the ground because it was obviously the first one since Rangers came back as a new club. And my dad actually gave his ticket to my Uncle David because he said that he deserved it more, and he let my Uncle David go in his place. And my dad sat in the pub outside Parkhead. But I remember the stand shaking beneath my feet. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. It was just unreal.
Between the 3 of you, I really hope Rangers fans didn't listen to this or we're getting fucking hate mail. Number 2 for you, Jack.
Number 2 is the other 6-2 derby, the New Year's Day derby, or I like to call it the Arvid Schenk derby. What can I say apart from a great day? Obviously, Dundee were unfortunate to have no goalkeepers and had to play Arvid Schenk. Otherwise, I think the score might have been a bit different, but you're never going to take it away. And like I said in the previous one, scoring 6 against your rivals is always going to be a great feeling. And with that being the first one to see, then that's why it's my number 2.
I'm going to put this to you, Sir Jack, just so we'll go off topic slightly. It's obviously on topic, but just to speak about that. Can you remember all the goals in that game?
But I remember some of them. I probably don't remember all of them.
Because my argument has always been that I actually think that Schenk gets far more criticism about that game than what he actually deserved.
Yeah, I mean, so the deflection for the first one's unfortunate because that was who was that?
I think was it Erskine that scored that one, or was it Armstrong's arson went in or something?
No, take a deflection off a Dundee boy. Degrassi.
No, it wasn't Degrassi. He wasn't there by then.
I think it did come off Armstrong's arse after Erskine hit it.
No.
It was the second goal. Was, in my opinion, was his fault. Was the one where Mackay Stephen crossed it in. Now, everybody says it's a great goal, and yeah, I can see the argument of that, but you shouldn't be getting beat for a ball in the box like that, in my opinion. If a keeper comes and catches that ball, you wouldn't think what a hit that was for him and what a save. You know what I mean? There was one where Mackay Stephen's second goal was a 1-on-1. The third goal was Erskine, I think, and that was he had the freedom of paradise inside the box to hit it and scored. The fifth one was a header for a corner.
For you.
And the third one was a Moosey Crowler for the edge of the box, for the boy Telfer, which he could probably have saved if he was a better goalie. So 2 out of 6, and if he'd saved the other 4, we'd have got a draw.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, my number 2 is a game from back in 2008. Dundee 3, St Johnstone 2. Now, earlier on I was speaking about it in terms of the 3-2 scoreline being my favourite. We went 1-0 up just before half time. With about 20 minutes to go, I think St Johnstone equalised. We went right up the park and went 2-1 up. They went right up the park and went 2-2. And then Colin McMenamin scored a header at the back post in the 93rd minute. There was a season that we went toe-to-toe with Hamilton, where we had the likes of Kevin McDonald, Scott Robertson, etc. They had the likes of James McCarthy and MacArthur, Brian Easton, etc., etc. And they did win the league, I think, by about 7 or 8 points in the end. Now, when I hear a lot of fans these days moaning about the playoff situation in the Championship, it boils my blood, because back then, you finished second, you got fuck all, and I'm adamant that Dundee team, if they went into the playoffs, would have got promoted. They played Motherwell that season in a Scottish Cup game. Motherwell were third in that season, I think, with the likes of Ross McCormack, and Dundee beat them 2-1 the 9 men, away from home. They were a very, very good team, and it all broke up because they all got sold off. And you had Dixon and Robertson, who went to United and played well for a good United team for a good few seasons after that. Kevin McDonald went straight down and played in England, played in the English Premier League 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 seasons whilst he was down there. I think he's still playing now. You had the likes of Colin McMenamin, Michael-Antoine Courier, a lot of good players in that Dundee team, and I think if there was a playoff introduced back then, that team were absolute certainties to get promoted. But yeah, ultimately that St Johnstone game didn't count for much, but just the drama of it always has stuck in my mind. And I know that the archive have put a few clips up from that season recently, and I'm absolutely desperate for them to put that particular fixture up, the highlights of that one. So that is my number 2. John, we'll get you in for your number 1.
Yeah, of course. So my number 1 is probably the happiest I've ever been as a Celtic supporter in my life. I think some people might be able to guess what it was, but it was 2012 Celtic versus Barcelona at Parkhead. I'm still, to this day, in utter disbelief of how a team featuring Efe Ambrose at the back going up against the likes of Sanchez, Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Jordi Alba, Dani Alves, Victor Valdez. I've actually been pulled this up just because I wanted to see who was on the bench that night for Barca. Piqué, Fabregas, David Villa, and I'm like, how on earth have we pulled it off? It was just absolute pandemonium, carnage. A very young Tony Watt obviously getting the second for Celtic. It was magic on the night. It was one of those nights where for a brief moment you feel like you could do anything. Don't worry, we were very, very quickly brought down to reality, but we enjoyed it for the 90 minutes.
It's one of those games in football where you just can't believe it, but it actually happened, and it did. But Celtic back in those days, even back then and before back then, when we were both younger, or when we were all younger, because we're all the same age, we used to pull results like that in Europe all the time, and it's just so bizarre that obviously the finances are massively different now, but anyway, Jack, number 1 for yourself, mate.
This one comes as no surprise. It's the Scottish Cup final versus Ross County. One of the best days of my life, maybe the best day of my life. I mean, seeing your team win the Scottish Cup doesn't happen every year, as been proven, as it's the only time I've seen it happen in the 29 years of my existence. So, yeah, unbelievable day out, and great day with all the family, seeing my team win the Scottish Cup and making it into Europe as well. So, honestly, it's such a great day and thoroughly deserved number 1.
Okay. Mine number 1 is Dundee against Queen's Park, league decider. Both teams going into the game knowing that a win would win the league and get promoted into the Premiership. We had the luxury that we could draw the game as well, and it just turned into an absolutely batshit crazy game. 3-3 at half time. Dundee go 1-0 up early, and you're thinking, that'll settle the nerves. They have to beat us 2-1. We hadn't actually lost that many games that season. Well, the majority of the games that we lost that season were all at the first quarter of the season, I think. With the final 3 quarters of the season, we only lost like 1 or 2 games. So you're thinking we could even draw our way to winning this league. They go 2-1 up within like 10-15 minutes. The boy Fox scores an absolute worldie. Connor Shields then scores. We then go 2-2. We then go 3-2 up with the worst goal ever. I think Zach Robinson falls and it hits his arse as he falls and it goes in. Then Charlie Fox goes a header from a corner and we're 3-2. We were 3-3 at half time. Then in the second half we kind of took it away from them a bit. Lyle Cameron and Luke McCowan finishing it off with a really, really good goal, and we won 5-3. Now, I've seen Dundee win the Championship a couple of times. In my opinion, and I'm here it's opinions are here to be disagreed with. In my opinion, Dundee are a Premier League team. In size, they shouldn't be in the Championship, and winning that is like the bare minimum when you're in it, in my opinion, as a Dundee supporter. So the game against Dumbarton, they won it. The other time I've seen them win it, we had a bit of drama at the end with the Kyle Leathern save. This one, the only reason I've put it is because what was at stake and how fucking mental the game was, and build up to it. Queen's Park were only giving us a certain amount of tickets and all was a bit mental, but then the game turned out to be just as mental as the build up to it, and we got promoted. And yeah, I had to include that, and I had to go number 1. I wish it was for something a bit more serious than the Championship, but unfortunately we've not seen it. But we'll live in hope with teams like St Mirren winning the League Cup this season that will eventually happen at some point in my lifetime. But yeah, that is our monthly top 5s completed. Now, honourable mentions, John, I'll let you go first because you did mention that you had some.
Yeah, so there's two. One actually is I couldn't really have been at the game, but I actually was far too young. But the one that always haunted me my entire life that my uncle used to love rubbing in my face was that he was directly behind the goal when Henrik Larsson chipped Stefan Klos at Parkhead. He never ever let me live that down. But the one that happened to me was a few years ago now. I stupidly made the mistake. I think it was 2022. I had a ticket for Celtic United at Tannadice, and I got my dates mixed up, and I thought my flight was on that day. I was actually flying out to America to meet my folks, and I sold my ticket to a guy that I went to school with, and it just so happened that obviously I wasn't getting my flight that day, so I sat and watched the game in the house, and that was the absolute thumping of 9-0 against Dundee United, which, fun fact, actually woke my mum and dad up who were in Las Vegas, because my mum's phone was going that much. My dad thought she was getting like a phone call, but it just turned out to be goals.
Oh, whisper that quietly on this podcast with these two, and I was actually working that day. I was working from home, and I says to my dad, "Give us a shout if there's any goals." And maybe was it 4-0 at half time, Martin? You were there. I know you were there, so you'll be able to correct me if it wasn't.
It's the only time I've actually felt physically sick at a football game, and that's no word of a lie.
But I'm sure it was 4-0 at half time. Anyway, I'm sitting working away after half time, and I just kept hearing my dad going, "Goal, goal." I'm running back and up and down the stairs, going to watch all these goals going in. And I turned around to him, must have been about 7 or 8, and I goes, "I'm going to pull a fucking hamstring coming down these stairs that many times." But you know what, right? It's one of those only times where, of course, as a Dundee fan, you're laughing at it, right? Of course, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't, but it's one of the only times as a Dundee fan that I've actually had a smidgen of feeling sorry for United, because that is just the pits. And only the season later, we were playing at Parkhead against Celtic, and we were 6-0 down at half time, I think it was, and we were sitting there in the away end at Parkhead, and we're thinking, dinna let this be fucking 9. Please, anything, please don't let it be 9. And I think it finished 7-1, but we all left at half time because we just couldn't bear it. Jack, any honourable mentions?
Yeah, a couple. The first game against Rangers when they died, it was the Scottish Cup 5th round. I was there with Martin.
But the hate was continuing.
Yeah, and we won 3-0. Johnny Russell, I think, scored after 12 seconds or something. And that set the tone for the match and the day. And Rangers were boycotting that day, that game. But there's still a few of them turned up. And so they were just getting slaughtered by all the United fans. The other one I had was a game meant a bit at the time, and it was the 1-0 win against Aberdeen. The Rory Boulding goal when 0-0 competing against Aberdeen for the top 6, and Rory Boulding comes on for his only appearance and scores the winner in the 93rd minute or something. That was scenes, to be fair, to beat your rivals.
Ooh.
Not rivals. Is it rivals?
Ooh.
I don't know. But yeah, so that's my other game.
Martin, what about yourself? You got any?
Yeah, I've got a few, and I'll apologise as well about the misunderstanding and my keenness to get my 5 games done right at the start. Pitch up wrong on that one. Yeah, I've got a few honourable mentions. Like Skinner said there, that Rangers game at Tannadice after they died, that was as soon as that draw was made in the Cup, every United fan was absolutely buzzing. Probably a wee bit of nerves that it wasn't going to go the way that we were hoping it would go, but no, it did. It did. That was absolutely brilliant. The only thing that would have made that better is if they didn't boycott it because they're bitter for some reason. But there was a few of them there that got to witness their team getting beat by the world famous United that day, so that's all good. Slash Rocklaw in the Europa League. That was a second leg game that we won 3-2. We went out on away goals that night, so ultimately it wasn't the best, but we went 2-0 up in the first 5 minutes, and my God, the place just erupted when we went 2-0 up. It was absolutely mental. One of the most mental sort of crowd scenes I've seen at Tannadice. You've got the 2 games against Barcelona at Tannadice. They were always going to be drubbins, but to see that calibre of player at Tannadice playing up against United is just such a novelty and such a rarity that we'll probably never get to see again. I hope to God we'll get pre-season friendlies like that again sometime soon, but that was an absolute privilege to be able to watch these players. I don't know if you've maybe seen it, Skinner, but there's a photo of Ronaldinho at Tannadice, probably from the first game against Barcelona, and you've got the tenements in the background in it, and it's just an iconic photo of Ronaldinho standing in front of these tenements. It's superb. And my last honourable mention is the League Cup semi-final against Aberdeen at Hampden. I think that would have been about 2015 we played them there. That was a fantastic game, and against Aberdeen, who, I'll say it, is more of a bitter derby than what the Dundee derby is for me. Like, there's a proper hatred in the air when we're playing Aberdeen, and to beat them at Hampden was just absolutely superb. I would love to go to that game again if I could.
Wild take.
No, I totally agree. I totally stand by that. See, when you play Dundee, it's got a derby feel. It's good, and you've got the nerves. But when you're playing Aberdeen, I think there's a real hatred between the fans that doesn't exist in the Dundee derby. Yeah.
I just wanted to really quickly jump on the back of something Martin said about the Barcelona matches. Still wild to me. I still find that incredible. But also talk about, like, you're kind of expecting a drubbing. Me and my dad had that experience when Celtic drew PSG in the Champions League. We knew we were going to get absolutely pumped. But it was one of those games where we went, you have to go. It was Neymar, Cavani and Mbappe up at the front. And I was like, we need to go, we need to see them. And yeah, we got absolutely hammered. I think it was 5-0. But seeing that calibre of player in the flesh is just something incredible.
The only time obviously I've experienced is when you see them playing against Scotland, and luckily enough I didn't think I've really ever seen Scotland take an absolute tanking. I think the worst I've ever seen them was maybe 2-0, 3-1, 2-0, something like that, so it's not really the worst in the world, but honourable mentions for me. I had a Dundee Rangers game from the year that they got to the cup final. They played Rangers at Dens. They went 1-0 down really early. Caballero scored a couple of worldies, and then it was backs to the wall for the majority of the game. It was actually the season that Rangers won the league on the final day on goal difference. I think Celtic scored 2 less goals than them or something like that. Barry Ferguson missed 2 penalties, and then Arteta scored a third in. Rangers getting 3 penalties. What a surprise! I would say sorry to Rangers supporters about that comment and all the comments you guys have made, but I wouldn't be being very sincere. Other games, there's probably loads that you get that I couldn't think of. I have one written down here, was the Dundee derby early in the season, purely based on the fact that there was nobody there, nobody left in the ground, and we were 2-0 down with 90 seconds to go or something like that. United fans are all laying and everything, and then all of a sudden we scored 2 goals and get a draw. I still can't quite believe that happened. Other than that, there will be plenty, but I just can't think. Another one actually just has come to my head there was when we played Wraith Rovers in the Defiant season. We were on quite a long unbeaten run at the time, and we're 1-0 down. Wraith Rovers chasing the league title with Dunfermline, and Gary Harkin scored a free kick with about 2 or 3 minutes to go, and then Neil McCann on as a trialist scored in the 95th minute or something like that to win 2-1. Carnage. So that is my honourable mentions. As I say, there's probably loads of other ones that I can't think of at the time, but yeah, that is my take. Okay, now we'll move on. We've actually spent 45 minutes talking about club football and what's meant to be a World Cup special, so apologies for any Scotland fans who didn't support Dundee or United or to Celtic today for that, but we'll kick on now. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to speak to you first of all about the squad, because obviously we've not spoken about anything since anything was announced, any friendlies were played, nothing. So the squad first of all for the tournament, and then I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. So the goalies are Craig Gordon, Angus Gunn and Liam Kelly. The defenders are Grant Hanley, Jack Hendry, Aaron Hickey, Dom Hyam, Scott McKenna, Nathan Patterson, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Suter and Kieran Tierney. The midfielders Ryan Christie, Finlay Curtis, Lewis Ferguson, Ben Gannon-Brook, Billy Gilmore, who has been swapped out for Tyler Fletcher now due to injury, John McGinn, Kenny McLean and Scott McTominay, and the strikers Che Adams, Lyndon Dykes, George Hurst, Lawrence Shankland and Ross Stewart. Now, first of all, Martin, since we do go regularly to the Scotland games, I'll get your thoughts on that. What's your thoughts on the squad as a whole?
It's a good squad. All the regular names that you'd expect to see in there, the big name players are in there. Hopefully these guys can stay fit between now and kick-off, get themselves in and get putting in some solid performances. A good mixture of youth in there as well. There's a lot of good young players coming through. A couple of seasons ago, sort of after Germany, I was a wee bit concerned that a lot of these players are getting, not at the end of their careers, but they're not getting any younger, but I didn't see much youth coming in to replace them, but we've got a lot of good young players in the squad now that are going to be taking the reins off these boys, so hopefully they can get some minutes maybe in the World Cup, if we're in a position to afford them that. But yeah, it's a good squad. A lot of mix of energetic youth players and experienced heads in there. So yeah, no reason why they can't go and win it.
And what about yourself, John? Obviously, our first World Cup it's the first World Cup that we all remember. We were all here when Scotland did play at France '98, but I would challenge any of you guys to remember that, when I think all you three would have been one and I was two. So what's your thoughts on our first World Cup in our lifetime, in inverted commas?
I think it's an absolutely solid squad. Looking through it, I totally agree with Martin. I think there's good depth across the board. There's a lot of young guys coming through. Obviously, I'm kind of biased, obviously, a Celtic perspective, but I always really rated Ben Gannon Doak. I thought he had a great future ahead of him. It's good to see him breaking into the Scotland team and really making a difference. Key players for me, like I sat and looked at it earlier on before the podcast. Obviously, the big ones for me, obviously Robertson, Tierney, McTominay, Gannon Doak, obviously, because I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. Lewis Ferguson, I rated him when he was at Aberdeen, despite his obvious Rangers affiliation. And obviously Lawrence Shankland. When Shankland wasn't in the team, I just felt like, why? What has he got to do to get a game? And ever since he's kind of broke in, he's just been tearing up. Obviously, I'm not a big Shankland fan myself, but I can rate him as a football player. I think he's a fantastic striker, and I think he's a great addition. Seeing his link-up play with Che Adams in the last match, I think it was the Bolivia match, was great. So it's got me very, very hopeful for the tournament. And like Martin, I can't wait to see we lift the trophy.
Before I get you in, Jack, I was just going to mention, to pick up on something you said there, John. Obviously, you said he was linking up well with Che Adams. When we were at the Curacao game the week before, and we seen after half time, we kind of picked up the tempo of it, and Lyndon Dykes was playing alongside Shankland. And we come away from that game, myself and one of our pals, Ross, who was at the game with us, Martin, and we were sitting in the car on the way back to Dundee, saying, we reckon against Haiti it has to be Dykes and Shankland starting as a duo. I reckon that the Haitians are going to be quite physical, and maybe that's not what it's going to be, but having Dykes up there to kind of give you that physicality and that good link-up play, and then Shankland's your poacher. Now Shankland's much more than a poacher, to be fair to him. I'm not wanting to give him any disservice, but I think Dykes is very much a good link-up player and a real asset to have, that I thought was really, really missed in Germany, which wasn't really spoken about very much. But after that game on Saturday, and it might be recency bias, I thought Che Adams was excellent. I still honestly do think that Che Adams is our best striker. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but I think if you put Che Adams in at Hearts, he'd score goals like what Shankland does. He's obviously playing in Serie A for a lesser team, so you're never going to get the two comparisons. But yeah, I think Che Adams probably did enough on Saturday to make his way into the starting lineup next week against Haiti. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, like I say, as been mentioned previously, I'm not massively into the national team, but so my opinion is probably not valid as such. But I think Shankland's got to start. You mentioned the physicality. I think he's got to be playing in there, and I think Che Adams could do the job alongside Shankland. You've mentioned that you think he's the best player, the best striker we've got, and to be playing at Serie A, you've got to have some ability. You know what I mean? So I think a bit of his pace could do well against the backline of Haiti. I know they might sit in deeper, and as such, your pace might not be as useful, but he obviously has some quality about him, and he has got the ability to score goals. So he seemed to work well against Bolivia. Him and Shankland done well against Bolivia, so I don't see why they can't score a few goals against Haiti and hopefully lead us to World Cup glory.
See, I've been saying this all along. I think having Haiti in the first game's really, really, really tough. I would rather have got them in the last game when you'd assume that they'll have taken 2 defeats off Brazil and Morocco and their confidence is down a bit more, whereas we're playing them now, they're full of confidence from qualifying for the tournament because they didn't qualify for many. I think this is only their second ever appearance at the World Cup, so you're going to have that. I think people are going to be surprised at the amount of Haiti fans that are going to be at the game. You only had to watch their game against Peru the other day. I seen the highlights of that. It was in Miami and the stadium was packed full of them. There's obviously a lot of people with Haitian ancestry and first generation, second generation immigrants into America from Haiti. So America's got obviously a diverse country with loads and loads of different immigration history from loads and loads of different countries, and obviously Haiti is one of them, and there must be thousands if not millions of them in America. There's going to be a lot of them. They'll make a lot of noise. Their team will be full of confidence, as I say, full of excitement, and I just think it's the game that we're expected to win. It's just a miserable one to have first, in my opinion, but that's a glass half full look at it. If you were to be a glass half empty, should I say, if you were a glass half full type of person, you'd say win that game and that could propel us on to maybe getting another good result against Morocco or Brazil when our confidence is lifted. The monkey's off our back because we've not won won a game at a tournament since Steve Clark came in. He's qualified us for 2 already, this is the 3rd, and that would all but put us through as long as we don't take 2 hidings off Brazil and Morocco. So yeah, it's a difficult one. As for the squad, having come away from the game at Hampden against Curacao where Billy Gilmore was confirmed injured, and it looked like the choices of his replacement were either Lennon Miller, Connor Barron, Andy Irving, and then obviously Tyler Fletcher, who came in as a training player and came on for 45 minutes. I thought Tyler Fletcher looked very, very, very assured. He obviously picked up a booking, he gets stuck in, he's good, he's decent enough on the ball. He's not played a lot of minutes for Man United, but I didn't think his dad played very much in the way of minutes before playing for Scotland, and he went on to play for Scotland 80 times, won the lot at Man United, so who's to say that he won't do the same? He's obviously got his twin brother Jack, who's currently representing England. I think he's played for Scotland at certain age groups, if I'm not mistaken. You never know. Jack was at the game with his dad, seeing his brother playing that game and then going on to a World Cup so soon, it might sway him and he might play, and I believe that Jack's the one who's highly thought of in the two of them, out of the two of them. So you might then get another player out of it just for taking him. I know that Lennon Miller's a good player, I know that Connor Barron's a good player, I know that Andy Irvin's a good player, and a lot of people in Scotland do hype up Lennon Miller a lot. But I don't think Lennon Miller's played much in the way of football this season either. I'm pretty sure I read that he's only played like 900 minutes or something. That's like 10 games, 10 games. So
a player I'm surprised that never got called up, and it's going to be controversial coming from a United fan, but I think Luke Graham should have been called up.
Nah, I don't think he's quite ready for that yet, mate. Especially
he's getting scouted by 48 different teams that are interested in him. He's got to be better than Hanley, mate. Hanley's stinking.
I think Hanley gets a lot of criticism that's unjustified. I don't know what you think of that, Martin.
I think Hanley's pace lets him down, but I wouldn't say he's a bad player. He's a player that I would have in the squad, to be honest with you. But like I say, just his pace lets him down sometimes. I can't remember what game it was at Hampden a couple of years ago. He gave away that penalty.
Yeah, it was Poland in the Nations League.
Poland in the Nations League. That came for his lack of pace. But I don't mind Hanley.
I mean, we've not blessed with centre halves. I think if I was to, we've got McKenna, Hanley, Hyam, Suter and somebody else. Let's have a look at the squad. That's terrible. Hanley, Hendry, Hyam, McKenna and Suter. And then obviously if you went to a 3 you could chuck in Kieran Tierney there as well. I think if he used to play a 4 then I would probably play Hendry for his pace and he's decent on the ball alongside McKenna. Don't know what you think. We'll throw that out to the 3 of you.
I'm probably the least qualified to speak here, but I just didn't want to leave you hanging there, Andy. I really don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, did you watch the game on Saturday? How much of the match did you see?
I only saw the highlights, mate. I was busy during the day. I never got a chance to watch it.
I think it was Henry and Hanley that started. Now, they're both right footers. I think if you play Henry alongside McKenna, you've got a right foot, left foot combination. I think you could argue that McKenna's maybe our best centre half. Some will argue with that. Just coming off the back of a very good season, he got in the team of the season for the Croatian Premier League for Dynamo Zagreb. So you've got that. He's in form. He's full of confidence. I think Henry gives you the pace. I think Scott McKenna's I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but he's not. His pace is deceiving. He's faster than what a lot of people think. But Jack Henry's got a good recovery pace. He's fine on the ball. You've also Hyams just come off the back of a good season for Wrexham. Only got 4 caps. You've got the experience of Hanley, and you've got John Souttar. I think, in my opinion, John Souttar would be to the bottom of the list, especially after the game against Curacao, where him and McKenna were given the Canadian barn dance by the boy Chong, and they were screwed into the ground and never seen again. But yeah, probably Henry and McKenna for me. I think we've got to really target that Haiti game. I know it's very, very obvious, but it's just must win. We'll have to win that game.
100%.
I actually feel more confident about Morocco. I think that we can beat Morocco. I think
Morocco's
brave
7th
man.
in the world, mate.
I know, but I think we can beat them. Honestly, do. I think we could beat Brazil.
I think the only team we'll beat is Brazil.
If United can get 2 wins against Celtic in the season, Scotland can beat Morocco.
Listeners, please bookmark this and return back when Scotland beat Brazil and Morocco and Haiti.
I think we'll draw with Haiti.
Honestly, being serious here, right? I think Scotland can beat, and I stress the word can beat Morocco and can beat Brazil. I'm not sitting here saying that they will do it, and I'm not predicting that they will do it, but I think they can. Now, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and obviously the similarities are uncanny, right, to Italia 90. So Italia 90, we played Costa Rica in the first game, and Costa Rica were very unknown at that time, not quite like what they are now. They're obviously in the same confederation as Haiti. We lost 1-0. Everybody was expecting to win. We lost 1-0. We then play Sweden in the second game. Now, Sweden are obviously European like ourselves, and Morocco are African. Sweden were on the back of something like a 2 or 3 year undefeated record. Something like that. They were a very good team at the time. We won 2-1, I think. 2-0 or 2-1. In a game that you might not expect us to win, right? Then play Brazil in the last game. We're playing Brazil in the last game here. And we only needed to draw, and I think Brazil scored in like the 80-odd minute, and we won 1-0, and it was from a goalkeeping mistake. Honestly, the similarities are uncanny, and this Haiti game has got our generation Costa Rica written all over it.
It's a fair point. I think I totally get where you're coming from, and I do agree with you. I think football's one of these sports that anything can happen. Literally anything can happen on a given day. And one of the things that I've been talking about, like in my work, is I feel like take Brazil for example. There's a lot now. Maybe I'm out of line here. If I am, but feel free to rein me in. But I feel there's a lot of very big personalities and egos, for lack of a better term, in that team. And I've spent God knows how many hours moaning to you about Vinny Jr., despite the fact that one of our pals thinks he's God descended from heaven. I kind of stick him. I just think for such an unreal football player, he's just a big pansy. He loves to throw himself about and make a big show at everything. And I would love nothing more than to see his leg get broken in that first half.
God's sake. No, I do agree with you though, but I think the man to dispel the egos is Carlo Ancelotti. They've obviously got him at the helm of the World Cup, and he managed to handle and manage Vinny Jr. when he was at Real Madrid and win a Champions League one, 2 Champions Leagues won, I think. So he's definitely the man. I think Carlo Ancelotti is one of the best managers of all time.
Oh yeah, he's a touch of class.
So yeah, as I say, I think we can beat Brazil. This is by no means a vintage Brazil team. Brazil have got a lot of good players, but if you went through them player by player and then compared them, say, to the 2006 Brazil team that come off the back of winning it in 2002, if you went player by player, it's mental. Like, oh, you've had all these household names, and yeah, there are still household names, but you had all these guys that played for Brazil who were a joy to watch. You had Ronaldinho, you had Kaká, Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Adriano, all these boys who were like joys to watch. That you look at them now and you're like, they're just a bunch of cocks. Like Vinny Jr., the boy that plays centre half for Arsenal. I don't know if Richarlison's there, but he's another in. Like there's so many of them in that team that are just so unlikable, and it's mental that Brazil have got players like that, in my opinion.
I must admit, that Vinny Jr., he's probably my most hated football player on the planet right now, eh?
Couldn't agree more.
An absolute little twat who needs broken legs.
Do you know what, you hit the nail on the head.
See the way he behaves in that Real Madrid top, it's like... Just somebody take one for the team in that league and fucking end his career, eh? It's pretty brutal what I'm saying, but no, I think players like him didn't do the game any good, to be honest with you.
I think, Andy, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about, like, obviously, I'm sure Jack and Martin will feel the same, but that Brazil team, I remember having that strip, the 2006 strip, with Ronaldinho on the back, and to this day, I still think he's the best football player I've ever seen in my life. He was a joy to watch, and like you say, all those players at that time, or the vast majority of them, they made you want to go outside and pick up a ball and get stuck in, and in the hopes of maybe being like that one day. Nowadays, when I look at, like you say, like the Brazil lineup, I'm like, it's just a bunch of fucking arseholes.
I know. It's like the whole Jogo Bonito, and it was the adverts that Ronaldinho used to do where he would get the ball and put it in the air and then hit it off the bar all the time, and obviously it's photoshopped. But and then there was the Brazil. You'll remember this. It was I'm sure it was Total 90, and it was the Brazil and Portugal teams in the tunnel, and they start booting fuck at each other, and they're all going ole, and they're putting the ball through each other's legs, and then at the end, the referee absolutely wipes out Ronaldinho.
That's one of the best adverts of all time.
Yeah, thank God that somebody remembers that advert, because it was honestly one of my favourite adverts. And I remember me and my cousin used to play football all the time in the street and at the park, and we used to just, like, we were like, 8, 9 at the time, and we would go and just pretend we were in that advert and try and nutmeg each other to say ole. And everybody always wanted the Total 90 ball that was in that advert. It was like the 3 red rings.
The Holy Grail.
And, yeah. Those are the
Don't forget the boots.
Oh, the boots were cool as fuck as well. See, you didn't get stuff like that now. Like,
that's it, we're starting a campaign brought to you by the Sandeman Street Podcast. Bring back Total 90.
And Jogo Bonito. There was more than that advert as well. There was the Ronaldinho advert where he was kicking the ball off the crossbar, but there was more than that.
Yeah.
And I was watching World Cup shocking moments, or best moments in the World Cup history, the 50 best or whatever it was. And remember the old original F50s, the Adidas F50s that were like black and light blue, and it was like a spider web across them.
Did you not have them when we were kids?
I might have done.
I'm sure you did.
I didn't think I had them specific ones, but I definitely had Adidas boots. I definitely had a pair of Predators when I was really young, because I remember it was the Predators where the laces were that long that you had to tie them underneath your boot.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then you got the ones with the tongue that had the elastic that went over your boot. See, that's what I remember football like, and the first couple of World Cups that I really remember watching were all about that. But now it's just a commercialised shite.
So I take it that means you're buzzing for the World Cup final halftime show.
Apparently BBC and ITV aren't even showing it.
Yeah, I heard that they're doing their usual thing where it's going to be the pundits talking about the match the way it should be.
Oh, because everybody wants to sit and listen to Mika Richards and fucking Alan Shearer.
I mean, I'll take that over Beyonce belting out some tune.
Who is it? Is it Beyonce that's doing it?
Oh, I don't have a clue, mate. I'll go find out.
I'll take Beyonce over BBC pundits,
To be fair, I agree. Mind you, we may actually be there when Scotland are in the final. You never know.
Would you like to know who it is?
Go on then.
It is Madonna, curated by Coldplay's Chris Martin, the South Korean boy band BTS, and Shakira.
What an eclectic mix.
I wonder what that'll be. I wonder how long it'll be, because obviously you've got the Super Bowl halftime show, and that's got to be a certain amount of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because was it not the one, was it Kendrick Lamar that done it last year, so 2025, when the Eagles won it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and he went overtime, did he not? And he got fined.
Yeah, he did. Well worth it though for the Hey Drake moment. Just going to say that.
Not my type of music, but I'm pretty sure I read that someplace that he got fined because he went 2 or 3 minutes over time. So I'm wondering how long it'll be, because I'm not saying for a second, and I know that a lot of people hate American football. I love American football, but it's to be an American footballer, you have to be in massively peak condition. But it's a different sort of condition to our football, in my opinion. Like, there's so much stoppages in a game of American football, whereas our football's 90 minutes of, or could be longer, of 100 miles an hour. The stamina that professional football players must have is ridiculous, and I think that there can only be a certain amount of a gap between your first half and your second half where these players are. I mean, I guarantee you it's at the MetLife, the final, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, I guarantee you that they'll have exercise bikes and everything in the changing rooms, and they'll keep them going, ticking over.
Definitely.
Because they can't sit there for 20 minutes, half an hour, 25 minutes whilst all that goes on. Because you think about it, the players come off the pitch, how long is it taking to set up and dismantle and have the show? It'll be, you're talking half an hour at least.
Yeah, I think so. Like you say, though, it's the second these players get in the back and sit down, they're starting to cool down. That's just, they can't afford that at the absolute pinnacle of football.
No, especially with the way that football is and the dynamism of it all. I think it's totally different. Like, yeah, to be an American football player, you have to be an amazing athlete, but it's a different type of athlete. These guys are all fucking jacked the fucking, like, running into a brick wall, are they? Whereas football players are more like stamina, like marathon runners. And obviously, they've got to have strength to them as well, no doubt about it. But it's a different type of physicality, in my opinion. I don't know if he's agreed with that or no, but yeah, definitely. So, look, I think this has probably been said on this podcast, and I've definitely said it to all you three before. The World Cup being in America is like an unbelievable thing for me. Like, I'm obviously going. I'm going to a couple of the matches. I love going on holiday to America. I love going and spending time there as much as anyone else, right? The World Cup being there is great, and I know that halftime shows and all that sort of stuff and the Americanisms of it are winding a lot of people up, but I'm kind of just of the mind of it's a one-off. Like, yeah, I wouldn't choose to have it, but it's just, let's just deal with it on this occasion. That's kind of my attitude towards it. Like, listen, I wouldn't want to see every week at Dens and getting fucking Northern Soul on it for half-time to do the half-time show. And
I'd go see that.
The View. But I don't know what you guys think of the half-time show.
I think it's nonsense. I think keep it to American football. Sorry, the American way. It's soccer. It's not a soccer thing.
I think FIFA have done everything they can to sort of bend over at America, and probably certain politicians over in America, to make themselves seem as appealing. And I think their adoption of this American tradition is probably just part of that. Yeah. I'm no for it, but it's what it is at the moment. And to be honest with you, I think it's something that probably will come into the World Cup final in the next few years. Hopefully not, but it's the kind of thing, you know what, it's at the end of the day, see something like that, it'll probably generate cash, and that's what talks at the end of the day for all these FIFA bigwigs. It's not about what boys like me and you think about the actual football, it's all about what the sponsors think and how many massively overpriced tickets they can sell, of which these halftime shows will probably be part of the draw of that. So it probably will take off in years to come, I think. At least certainly in the final.
Well, we've already got the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
So it's just another thing of that. I know the opening ceremony's before the game, and it's a wee bit different.
Before you move on, Andy, can I just say something? One more mention about somebody in that Scotland squad who I'm actually quite buzzing for. Craig Gordon. I'm buzzing that he's in the squad.
Yeah.
He made his debut for Scotland just over 22 years ago, when Scotland had boys like Nigel Kouache and Gary Holt playing for them. And I think to have made your debut for your country 22 years ago and to be named in a squad 22 years later for a World Cup, I think that's absolutely superb. I think he'll probably retire after this World Cup. I think it was a total farce that he never went to the Euros in Germany, and I think he's just been a fantastic servant to the nation, and he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was having a bit of a laugh. The first Scotland game I ever went to was the 6-0 game at Parkhead against the Faroe Islands, and I'm absolutely positive it was Darren Fletcher that scored the first goal. So the first goal I've seen Scotland score at a match was Darren Fletcher. I'm now seeing his son playing for them.
Aye.
Right, which is amazing. We've both seen Darren Fletcher playing for Scotland, but that was the first Scotland goal I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Gordon was in goal that day. I was 10 years old that day. Right?
It's some stat that at his age he's still playing at this level.
I mean, and I'm 30 now and I'm going to the World Cup and he's there. Now, if he doesn't play, I'd assume he'll play Angus Gunn. But if he doesn't play, then that's that. But I'm so happy for him that he's going, because he's come back for career-ending injuries on more than one or two occasions, and he's always put himself forward to come and play for Scotland. Look, he's no perfect. He's made mistakes for Scotland. He's made mistakes at club level, but I do like Craig Gordon. He's always been a good goalie in my eyes. The save that he made at Dens earlier in the season for Hearts, I mean, I thought it was in. It was that good a save, I thought it was in. I don't know how that makes any sense, but it does.
You know what, right, obviously he's not getting any younger. He's, 43, 44? And I'm not even saying that he'll probably be our starting goalkeeper. I don't think he will be, but he's, at the age he is, he's still an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. The athleticism he's got at his age, speaking about him like he's a total old age pensioner, he's not, but for a footballer, he is, you know what I mean? The ability he's got at that age is phenomenal, and I just think he's a proper athlete, yeah.
I just look back at that Scotland team that I first seen, and you had boys like him and Barry Ferguson, you had Chris Boyd, you had Kenny Miller, you had Darren Fletcher, James McFadden. I mean, James McFadden is probably, Scott McTominay's probably verging on it now, but James McFadden will forever be my Scotland hero. I would have loved for him to have went to a tournament, but Craig Gordon's getting to live out that squad's dream.
Yeah, he's the one final remnant of that squad that we all kind of grew up with.
Yeah, and I mean, that Scotland team that nearly qualified for the Euros in 2008 in the game against Italy that everybody remembers, wasn't the greatest of squads, and it broke up quite quickly, and there was too many egos, and there was the whole Celtic players, Rangers players thing, and the appointment after Alec McLeish wasn't a great appointment, and the appointment after that wasn't a great appointment, and the appointment after that wasn't a great appointment. But that squad, if they had got an easier qualification group, because they got 3 World Cup quarter-finalists in one group, I mean, come on, that would have went to a tournament, and they deserved to go to a tournament. And you went through player for player in that squad, and they were all very good players, and it's just a pity that they didn't manage to make one, but that's life, isn't it?
It is that.
Anyway, we'll move on, and since you're with me, Martin, at the moment, we're going to do 3 different predictions. So we've got your winner, a top scorer, and a dark horse. What do you reckon?
You want all 3 of them just now?
Yeah, just go for all 3 of them at the moment, yeah.
Winner? Anyone but England.
Okay.
No, winner? I actually couldn't tell you. I think there's a lot of countries up there that are really going to be looking for it. You know, you've got France, who are really strong. Argentina, they're coming out. They're the defending champions. They're still a really strong squad. I don't know.
Would you want me to go with mine?
I'll throw France in, just picking a bunch, but that's just a sort of luck of the draw guess, really.
Okay, so I'll tell you mine, right? So my winner, I think, will be Portugal. Portugal are unbelievable, by the way.
They are good.
If they didn't fucking play Ronaldo and play one of their better players, they'll win it. Top scorer, I'll say Mbappe. I think Mbappe might actually break the World Cup scoring record in this tournament. And dark horse, Norway.
Norway.
What about you, John? What do you reckon?
So for me, again, super basic, I'm going for France to win it. I just think they're an absolutely scary team. The amount of talent on display there is just mad. I'm going to take a wild stab at it. My top scorer for the tournament, I'm going to go with Yamal. I think he's going to really turn up at the tournament. I think he's already kind of cemented his place as the next generation, but I think he's really going to prove it. And my dark horse is your winners. I've got Portugal as my dark horse.
Okay. And what about yourself, Jack, finally?
You wonder how many people around the world are on podcasts saying that maybe Scotland could be a dark horse. You never know.
Well, a lot of people have, mate. I've seen a lot of, like, you can take TikToks, YouTube shorts, etc., that people are saying that they reckon that Scotland could do well.
People are talking about Norway's and Sweden's, why no Scotland in that group? You know what I mean? Like, I would say we're up there.
Yeah, definitely. What we'll do now is, just before we hit the Footballogy Challenge to finish off the episode, is we're going to do something similar to the monthly top 5, but we're going to do our top 3 World Cup moments. Now, I left it open to your own interpretation with what you wanted to do with that. So you could do all World Cups. I done ones that I can remember. Now, the first World Cup that I really properly remember was Germany in 2006. I do vaguely kind of remember slight moments in the 2002 one, but not really anything that I could really say that I vividly remember seeing it, watching it, where I was, etc. So I'm doing 2006 onwards. What we'll do is, Martin, we'll start with you, but only give us one.
Just one at a time, don't you worry.
Okay, go for it.
So I'll just say, obviously we've got our 3 moments. 2 of these are sort of subjective to me, one of them's a bit more objective. I'll start with the objective one that I've got. It was that Germany-Brazil game in the World Cup that finished 7-1. That was amazing to watch. I've never seen a team capitulate like that in my entire life, let alone Brazil. Let alone a Brazil team that had so much quality in it. Germany were 5 goals up in 29 minutes, which was a World Cup record, which I still think stands to this day, the fastest time for a team to go 5-0 up in a game. And they were at home, yeah. You also had Miroslav Klose in that match, sort of sealing his position as a World Cup top goal scorer, which I think he still is by that one goal over is Ronaldo, who's second, the old Brazilian Ronaldo. So I think that game, that was a really iconic match. That was just a wow moment in the World Cup for me, and obviously records getting broken there. That was a lesson in how to play football.
Okay, right, I'll go next. My number 3 was the last World Cup in the final, Argentina against France. Now, obviously I was saying earlier, 2006, the first one I properly remember. If you go through all the finals from then till the 2022 one, the finals tended to be shite. You had France against Italy, you had Spain against Holland, you had Germany against Argentina. And the 2018 one wasn't too bad. That was France against Croatia. It finished 4-2, so there's plenty of goals, but the game was never really too much in jeopardy. I think that France kind of ran away with that one a wee bit. But yeah, the final had everything. Argentina 2-0 up. They're cruising for the majority of the second half. They chuck it away late. They go 3-2 up in extra time. They then give away a penalty, and then they win it on penalties. And Messi gets his World Cup to really, in my opinion, cement that he is the best player of all time. Obviously, that is open to debate, but it is my opinion, and that he is the best. So, yeah, that's my first one. We'll bring you in now, John. What's your first one?
So in my number 3 spot, I'm the same as you, Andy. The first one I remember watching was the 2006 one, and for me, it's probably the most infamous moment of that tournament. It was Zidane's headbutt in the final. Never seen anything like it in my life, and it was a terrible way to see one of the greatest players of all time go out.
I think that one might be featuring more than once. Right, Martin, what are you thinking for your next one?
Yeah, so for my next one, this is a more personal opinion, but like you touched on, Andy, people of our generation are either Team Ronaldo or Team Messi, and it's Team Messi for me. He's the guy who I'll be telling my grandkids about when they're asking me about what football was like when I was younger. And to see him win the World Cup last time, I think, was an iconic moment. For our generation, he's done everything in football. There's nothing he hasn't done. And to have won the World Cup, to tick off that final box, that was just an iconic moment, I think,
Yeah, definitely. For my number 2 is very similar to John. I've went for the Zidane headbutt. I think it was a very iconic moment in the history of football, let alone the history of the World Cup. So I remember watching it. And I think what had happened is that the cameras didn't immediately catch it, did they? So everybody was kind of waiting for the footage to appear, and then all of a sudden you just see the replay, and it's he knocks the boy in the chest. It's just the most bizarre thing in the world, and I still now don't really have the words to describe what actually happened, but it was a totally iconic moment and one that I'll never forget. So that's my next one. What about yourself, John?
My number 2 spot, I don't care how anybody reacts to this, call me bitter all you want, I could not give a monkey's. It's Lampard's denied goal versus Germany in 2010. I've never laughed so much in my life.
Classic.
Okay. And Martin, finishes off with yours.
Well, I'm not a religious man. I do not believe in God, but I do believe that God has a hand. And we all remember what happened in 1986. We weren't there, we weren't around at that time, obviously, but we've all seen the pictures and the videos. That hand of God moment from Maradona against England, absolutely brilliant. I think if it was against any other nation, yeah, it would be iconic, but as a Scotsman and it happening against England, it's got to be that top spot for me.
For me, the top spot is the Lampard ghost goal, as they say. I'm absolutely raging that I've been beaten to it by somebody else, but just hysterical. And one of my favourite things about it was one of the clips that came out of it afterwards, and somebody had photoshopped the photo, and it was like the line went along it, and then it kind of V'd and then went back in again, and it was the ball. Somebody says, "Oh, the ball didn't cross the line," but yeah, an iconic moment. And what they all seemed to forget when they were raging on the telly about it after was that Jeff Hurskill didn't go over the line. So what goes around comes around, especially with it being against Germany. But yeah, hilarious, iconic, and I want my number 1 because I'm bitter and twisted like you, John. And what's your number 1?
My number 1, Andy, obviously you've known me my whole life. I'm a very sentimental person. I like to take a minute to appreciate the wee things in life. One of the big ones for me, and it is obviously my number 1 spot, is Scotland qualifying, but not just because we're finally qualified, whatever, but I remember my dad speaking to me over like all his life about seeing Scotland when he was younger and going to the pub with his pals and watching Scotland in the World Cup and feeling that sort of unity with everybody around you. And I remember watching us obviously qualify for the Euros with my dad. It's one of the very few times in my life I ever saw my dad cry. And when, obviously, my dad unfortunately passed away in 2023, but when Scotland qualified against Denmark, I was sat in my living room on my own with a photo of my dad next to me, and I just fucking sprinted around the room. I was screaming my head off, and it was like he was there with me. It was like he was like, "You're finally getting your tournament, son." So that's my number 1.
Brilliant, superb. But I know that the South Africa World Cup was where my number 1 came from. Jack's had a couple from there. John, you had yours that was the same as mine. I actually think the South Africa World Cup was the worst World Cup I've ever seen. And the last question I wanted to ask you all before we move on to the Footballogy Challenge was, what's your favourite World Cup?
I could tell you, I hope I never hear of Vuvuzela again, if that's what you want to know.
Yeah, 100%.
2010 was the first one that I got really into. I only started really going to watch football in 2010. I was obviously a United fan, but yeah, 2010 is the first one that I paid proper attention to, and minus the constant drone of the Vuvuzelas, it was really good.
I think a lot of people have a kind of soft spot for the first one they really remember. Now, obviously for me that was Germany, but my favourite one was always, for ever since it happened, obviously, is the one in Brazil. It was a great time in my life, to be fair, because obviously just left school, you're going on your first holiday with your pals, you're looking forward to what's in the future, and I just remember that, and we were in Magaluf.
Yeah, you know what, it was very good getting to watch it on holiday, sort of like our first bit of freedom after school, being able to watch a World Cup in Magaluf. That was very good.
And it was the group stage, so there was like 3 or 4 games a day on. We just sat in the pub basically all day watching the World Cup. It was magic. It's such a great memory. Now, that will probably always be my number 1 unless Scotland go and do really well this summer or there's a really good one in the future. But I thought Qatar was really good as well, actually. Now, it got loads of criticism. Now, America's going to be the same in my opinion. This got loads of criticism because of all the stuff with the building of the stadiums and all this stuff that's way above my pay grade. and the fact it was in Qatar and the fact it was during the season. But I actually think during the season helped it be such a good World Cup, because the players weren't spent at the end of the season. They weren't gubbed for a whole season of playing football, essentially. It was just a great World Cup to watch. I thought there was loads of goals in it, loads of drama. I just thought it was a very, very, very good World Cup.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon here. Mine was also 2010, but it's probably because I've got a really funny memory of that tournament, which was obviously still being at school, and at the time I had this unbelievably strict math teacher who everybody was petrified of. I remember, like, I was a double period of maths, and I think it was maybe the opening game of the tournament, and he went, right, yous have all been really good, so we're going to put on the World Cup. And we're thinking, yes, it wasn't for us. He pulled out his betting coupon out of his desk and sat with his feet up on the desk watching the match. I think that's the most Scottish experience of a World Cup ever.
I'm pretty sure we got to watch one or two of the games from that South Africa one bit.
I remember they were always on sort of around about lunchtime, and they opened up the games hall. You were able to go in there at lunch and watch a bit of the games, if I remember correctly. The PE department were showing them.
I just remember, was it like the French class or something that we watched the game? I can't remember, but yeah, that was definitely the only World Cup that I remember where there was games on whilst I was at school. I can't remember if there was any games on, John, from the 2006 one. I presume there probably was when we were at primary school during the day.
I think they probably would have showed at least one of them, but I like yourself, I don't remember much.
No, I can't remember that. Anyway, we'll move on to the Footballogy Challenge chats before we finish. And Jack, we're going to hate to get the party balloons out of you in, because you've hit your target, mate, and you've actually smashed through it and finished on 26 points. Jack had a game today. I've obviously, I thought to myself when we were planning on game week 40, we'll work it differently next season, but when we were planning on game week 40, we had in mind when we were going to do it, and I thought we'll wait until the beginning of June when we do this pod, and we'll wait for the international games to kick in. I actually had two, so did Martin. We both threw the same game. Jack, we were at the game with you that day, so we both had that game that you had. It was Scotland 2, Cyprus 1, and the game that me and Martin had was Scotland 2, Armenia 0. The goal scorers for your game, Jack, was Andy Robertson on 60 and Ollie Burke on 89, with a Cyprus goal from Konsoulos on 87. And for ourselves, Martin, Scotland won 2-0 that day. The scorers were Anthony Ralston on 28 and Scott McKenna on 40. So I won the league table, the Footballogy Challenge, whatever you want to call it, last week, or the last game week, should I say. And Martin, I think you finished 4 points off me. Skinner, you finished with 26 points.
That Cyprus game, Andy, would that have been Andy Robertson's first Scotland goal in that game?
No, Andy Robertson's first Scotland goal was against England at Parkhead.
Oh yeah, of course it was, yeah. Aye.
But that was Steve Clarke's first game as manager.
Aye.
And I seen somebody putting up the other day the squad that he picked for, I think it was maybe that round of fixtures, if not it was later in that calendar year. And there was quite a few players that still play for Scotland in it, but some of the players were like Eamon Brophy was one of the strikers.
God almighty.
Anyway, that wraps up episode 45, our World Cup preview that was kind of dominated by Dundee Dundee United and for 1 week only Celtic. Move on to next week's episode, which will hopefully, I stress the word hopefully, come out on Monday night. Now, I travel to America next week. We'll do a reaction podcast from the Haiti game, and we'll get that up as quickly as possible. It's not going to be our usual Thursday at 11 a.m. Slots. They're going to be out as quickly as we can get them edited and published effectively for after each game. So I will be in Scotland for the Haiti game and then travel out to America to watch Morocco and Brazil games. So once I'm in America, it'll be slightly more difficult, but we'll do our best to get these episodes out as quickly as possible whilst I'm away. But thank you very much, and if you would like to keep active on our socials, to know when these episodes are going to be posted on Twitter or X, whatever you would prefer. We are at Sandeman ST Pod. On Instagram, we are at the Sandeman Street Pod. So that's where to find out where and when the episodes will be getting posted. You will find them on YouTube as well. Click the notification bell and subscribe. On YouTube, we are at the Sandeman Street Podcast. So, the Sandeman Street Podcast. Now, my good friend John, who's joined us today, thank you very much for joining us, John. We'll hopefully get you on sometime next season, maybe when one of the Dundee teams are playing against Celtic. You yourself do a lot of streaming, a lot of YouTube videos. So, for the 3 or 4 people who do listen to this podcast, would you like to give yourself a wee plug?
Thanks very much, Andy. No, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure being on. I've really enjoyed this. It's nice having this kind of round table discussion. It's not something I'm used to, of course, on my streaming side of things. So if anybody's interested at all, I live stream on a Monday, a Wednesday and a Saturday night from 8 o'clock British time on Twitch. My username is JohnDom77. You can find the joke in there if you'd like to. And on YouTube, it's just youtube.com/@JohnDom, where I upload kind of videos. I do recordings outside of the streaming stuff. There's a lot of different stuff on there. So if you're into gaming, you like a bit of just a guy being an idiot, then I'm your man. Thanks again, Andy. Appreciate it.
Good man. Thanks very much for joining us, and it's great to have you on. But that is the end of this week's episode, number 45. It's mental that we've done 45 episodes, 45 episodes of worth of editing. It does take its toll. But we'll have the World Cup review videos for as long as Scotland are in the tournament. If they get knocked out after the game against Brazil, then we'll be back at some point in July once the Dundee and Dundee United side of things gets undergoing. So from John, Jack and Martin and myself, thanks very much for joining us. Take care and come on Scotland against the Haitians.
Come on us Scots.